Okay.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to our March 8th CSIG call. It is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest, Latifa Mohammed Al-Abdulkarim. She is an assistant professor of computer science in the Department of Information Technology at King Saud University and a visiting AI and law researcher at University of Liverpool. She obtained her PhD in computer science in the domain of artificial intelligence in the legal sector from the University of Liverpool in 2017, and with MSc degree with distinction from the same university in the domain of argumentation in artificial intelligence in 2011, and of course another PhD online in software engineering in 2009. Latifa developed Angelic, a methodology for analyzing legal cases to predict case opinions in the US Supreme Court. After that, she was a member of a feasibility study to test the provision of Angelic to the British government energy and gas tax legal domain in collaboration with Thomas Reuters, and a project member of customizing Angelic for Whitman's law firm in Liverpool, UK. In addition, Latifa was an active member in a number of voluntary work. She worked for Ethnos One, a charter of empowering women in STEM at University of Liverpool, and she was a member of the supervisory board and the deputy head of the Engineering and Computer Science Committee of the Saudi Scientific Society at the Saudi Cultural Bureau in London. Latifa has received a number of awards, including the Best Doctoral Student Paper Award at the 26th International Conference on Legal Knowledge and Information Systems in 2013, and Anne Mabry Prize for the Best Overall MSc Student at the University of Liverpool. She has also been honored by the Saudi Embassy in the UK among the distinguished postgraduate Saudi students in recognition of her academic achievements. Furthermore, Latifa has many published researches. She was also a speaker at a number of international conferences. Her research interests are in artificial intelligence, computational models of augmentation, AI governance, AI and law, and decision support systems. Today, she will be talking on big data, AI, and law. Impressive career journey, Latifa, for you. Without further ado, let me turn the stage over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Padma. And thanks, Susan, for the invitation. Marhaba. Good evening, everyone, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's 9 p.m. here. And good afternoon for all of you in the workplace. I hope that I was not disturbing you during your work. I know that it's 1 p.m. It's my honor to be with you today, and for all the women and also men, happy International Women's Day. And I'm so glad to be here with you on this special day as a Saudi woman, joining the cognitive science from IBM. As the title states, I don't know if I can remove the chat here. Okay, I have to close the chat. Okay, I will talk about big data and artificial intelligence and how it affects the big law, or how it's going to be, how it's going to change the law from both sides. What's exactly the cross path between artificial intelligence and the legal domain, and we will see what's the impact of applying AI in the legal domain in order to improve the law in general, and how the changes that is going to be effective in the legal profession, and what will be the changes if we applied the opposite way, applied law in the AI and AI in law, and we'll see what's going to be changed during this presentation. So, as you have already heard from my bio, I don't have any legal background, but I have a background in argumentation in artificial intelligence. And from this domain, I started investigating the legal domain as the rich test bed for a lot of arguments. Why did I choose law? I believe that law is the heart of every society. And I want to know more about where does the law come from, and who make the law, and how can we interpret law and regulations and policies, and how can we, what exactly we can do to improve the efficiency in the legal domain, and how can we provide support for the decision-making system in the legal profession. I'm always wondering who judges the judge, who judges wrong. So all these questions in my mind help me to investigate more about the legal domain. However, when I started, I realized how the legal profession is very conservative, and they were, in general, the people who are working in this domain were not that helpful in the beginning, in 2013. Anyway, the domain is very old. It's since 80s, but they have already, according to the general evolution in the artificial intelligence, they started accepting and being interested in understanding the technology or the impact of the technology in the legal domain. So that's the beginning. That was the questioning in my mind. I want to know more. I want to see how can we apply AI techniques in the legal domain. And I will start by word of mouth from word pioneers. I will first in the January 2016. Andrew Moore from Carnegie Mellon University stated that one of the biggest trends in AI between 2015 and until now is automating the massive amounts of legal documents. And in fact, after 2 years after that, in the World Government Summit in 2018 in February, just now in Dubai, Michio Kaku is a physicist and futurist, and I'm sure that you know him already. He stated that one of the changes in the future in the legal domain is going to be having, for example, a robo-lawyer who could have access to all the legal data in any city, in any language, and provide you and come to rescue if you have any accident. So you as a just regular, normal citizen, or even a tourist, you will be provided by general services from the countries that you are visiting and understanding all the legal issues that you want to know about. And I need to just minimize the screen a bit so I can see. Okay. Oh, okay. That's very short. Okay. Maybe that would be helpful. Okay. Okay. Let me start by the data. What exactly the data in the legal domain? As we know, data is the backbone of any AI potential. And if we want to investigate exactly what type of legal domain of legal documents that we are dealing with, it's all unstructured. We don't have data sets, and or at least at the beginning, we don't have data sets in legal documents. So it's all unstructured data from the statutes and from the legal governance and from the legal cases that is available online. There are a lot of open sources of data in online in the United States, as you know, the US Supreme Court, for example, and also in the UK, there are a lot of case law libraries that we can access and use the data from. And the nature of the legal fields in general, it's it looks like rules in the beginning. And my first expectation was this, I thought that it's just a set of rules and logic, and I just directly can apply it and get the result. But I am really shocked when I started dealing with the first legal domain, that there are a lot of exceptions, and the domains are not exactly, or the rules in one domain are not exactly the same. There are a lot of exceptions. It's hard to find patterns between the legal cases. However, I tried to apply some different legal reasoning models in order to understand these exceptions and trying to find patterns. Also, the legal is context dependent, so I can't apply to different contexts. All the rules should be applied to one context according to the precedents and the case law. Also, the reasoning is uncertain. You started with some kind of information, however, it could be changed afterwards. That's like the general properties or features of the legal domain, of the data in the legal domain that we are dealing with. Now the question is how big data and AI might transform law and legal practices in general. As you can see in this slide, there are cross paths between the legal profession practices and AI technologies and the concepts. One of these processes could be contract interpretation, legal text processing, and legal reasoning, applying logic and argumentation, case prediction and decision analysis, believe it or not, and also legal classification between the legal domains. These are just examples, and it's real. These are all companies and tools and platforms that is doing all these kind of work for us. Some of them have been already used, or actually all the examples that I have already put in the slides are all in use. I'll start by the first wave in the legal domain, or in applying AI in the legal domain. The first wave that I want to talk about is the legal case analysis and the e-discovery tools, research tools, and so on. Okay, what exactly the type of the legal documents that we have in this here? Sorry? Is it clear? Can you hear me?
It's fine. Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. So, what kind of documents that we are dealing with in this case? It's unstructured data, unstructured legal documents. It might be oral hearings, the audio files in the oral hearings that is available online, or the different types of legal case documents, either the transcripts of the oral hearing, the briefs, or the legal opinions. And that's for the legal case analysis, we usually use the legal case opinion. For example, I'll give you M. Watson, so it's easier for you, for most of you maybe, to understand the general concept, and I will explain it more using my own research methodology. For example, in Watson, it's a question answering platform. So you just put the question or the legal query that you have. It imports the documents, select the relevant documents for the legal domain, and provide you with answers. Either it could be like a legal advice or legal analysis or prediction sometimes. In my case, I applied to legal case opinions, and I have also tested on legal oral hearing transcript. So the first stage was to apply some NLP technique and data mining for these legal documents in order to map it to legal reasoning models that we have, starting from the evidence to the fact, from this evidence to the factors that the courts are using in order to provide legal consequences for the verdict of the legal case. So after the search and review, if you can convert the unstructured data to structured data using some kind of machine learning techniques and analyze the decision, You could use it for different purposes, either to predict the case decisions or justify legal arguments, and that was the things that I worked on. Or you might use it for classifying legal domains based on the common factors in each legal domain. Or sometimes the legal decision could show some changes in the law, and that will help the judges to understand the changes or the required changes that might be needed in the legal domain. So it provides like a report at the, as a result, either the report of the case decisions or the verdict, or it could be like a visualization to show the relation between the factors of the legal argument. Who are the users for such kind of tools? And the first thing that you might think, or the first user that you might think about, will be the government and the courts, either the U.S. Supreme Court. It's not the U.S. Supreme Court, it might be any court, or the lower courts, or the appeal court. It might be law firms, and for example, in my research, I have tested, or the research itself was on the U.S. Supreme Court, but I have tested for on law firms. So I tried to change it or customize it for law firms in order to check whether it could be used to give a value for legal cases, to predict whether it's worth going on this case or not. And it also could be applied for legal departments or the in-house law, or it could be used by law students. And yes, junior lawyers are much more interested in using technology and these kinds of techniques in helping them in understanding where does the law come from. And I think I have read in one of the reports this today that they are trying to apply some kinds of tools, or using some kinds of tools in the legal documents. Okay, the next wave that I want to talk about is the contract analysis, contracts review, contracts management, contracts analysis, and so on. And that's really very important changes in the legal profession in general that will affect all the business models, not only the legal domain or the legal profession, I mean. For example, we have a tool called Kyra, and it's well known now. It was a startup 6 years ago, and they are celebrating that it's now one of the big companies. They have a lot of users all over the world. It works by having like fetching or encapsulating the knowledge from different amounts of legal contracts, and try to know what exactly the terms of the legal contract and the different clauses in the legal contract, in order, even if it's written in different phrases, or if it's related to different concepts. And they try to find what, like as you can see in the picture. So according to the terms and the clauses, they put like how many times it has been repeated in certain contracts. So you can just click on it and see the clause straight away. Such tool has been used in one of the well-known, I think it's worldwide, law firms. It's called Clifford Chance. It's based in London. And according to their review, that they asked also their lawyers to review the results from Kyra, and they realized that there's a good reduction in lawyers' time. It's between like 20 to 90% reduction in contracts reviewing time. However, for example, they are suggesting that if such mistakes happened or results from such tools, that's actually machine learning tool, they suggest that maybe it could, the sections that need to be reviewed could be like highlighted for reviewing. And they also believe that the contract summary could be used as metadata, so they can use the summary as metadata straight away. And they also believe that the next revolution in the contract analysis will be the using of the contract as data in the blockchain. And I do believe in this as well. But we are all investigating what's going to be in blockchain in the near future. And the third example for the third wave that I want to talk about is the advice systems, the organizations' advice systems. In general, it's not necessarily going to be in the legal profession, but it could be in different businesses. For example, and as you show in this case, they could use decision trees to provide a comparative table to choose to compare, for example, between the standards, the current standards in certain organization and policies, to compare it between international standards and policies, or between another competitor standards and policies if it's available. And they can use the financing guides or the acquisition guide. The decision tree can be filtered by the client type or business type or activity type or anything according to your the advice that you are looking for. And this is actually one of my interests. I think that this is going to be causing a lot of changes in the business and also in the legal profession. That you don't need a lawyer, for example, in this case. You as a user or CEO, for example, in an organization, you could do some initial assessments of the feasibility of this advice or the proposed transaction, and that will help and cut the costs significantly. Also, if you are thinking of changes, of changing in certain rule or certain policies, that will help a lot. That's what I'm thinking of. And Newtologic is one of the award-winning AI platforms, and can be also help in doing the. If we apply it to certain business, it could help in performing such purpose and changing or bringing advice for the organization. Okay, I'm still in the big data and AI, and how can we apply AI in order to improve the legal profession. So I want to, all what I have already explained was from a lot of researchers in different venues. And in addition, I tried to explain from business-wise, so from both sides, from for academic and business-wise. And so as this screen here shows, what are the common venues for big data, AI, and law? You can check the International Association for AI and Law, or the Journal of AI and Law, or some academic conferences. ECIL is a well-known one, an international conference of AI and legal practice. And EURIX, it's an international one, but most of the time it's based in Europe. And if you are willing to go on innovation level, so there are legal innovation like Legal Expo. It was based in Amsterdam in 2017. And I'm really surprised that we have now Legal Hackathon as well. Also, you can check the legal solution providers, maybe Thomson Reuters, a well-known one, and EY. And Stanford having also legal informatics centers, and a lot of ideas and very interesting researches are coming from Codex. It's under Law College. Okay, now I will shift my talk to the other way around. So what exactly do we need? Or we need now to apply law for AI. We need towards AI governance, AI policies, and AI regulations. We can't think of a decision-making system for to be applied in the court without ensuring that some of the principles are all addressed. The number one is the fairness, absolutely. We don't want to repeat or replicate what human falls from the flows in the data. So if we are going to use, for example, the verdicts of the legal documents or legal case opinions, we don't want it to repeat these things again. For example, what if are we sure that the judge judged the case with emotionally free, or was there any factors that affects the decision that is not clear to a human, but can the algorithm detect these decisions, or are we building a new infrastructure for racism? And these are the questions from the ethical design for an IEEE, the proposed reports and for an IEEE. So we are wondering how can we reach fairness. I've read a couple of papers in this topic. In one of the latest conferences about artificial intelligence, ethics, and society, they suggest adding like fairness criteria to be embedded in the machine learning algorithm. However, I think this stage is too early. It's not yet, or they don't reach that good decisions yet. But however, it's a good start. And we need to do this kind of starts. We need to begin and do mistakes, but we have to reach kind of fairness model that could be applied to our machine learning algorithms before evaluating or before applying the decisions that is made by these algorithms. The second principle is the transparency. So again, I want to make sure that where does the decision come from, even from for the legal arguments, and that's exactly what I was working on in my research. So I want to make sure that the legal arguments produced by the majority of the judges, that the argument is clearly shown where does the argument is coming from, either from the factors or from some changes in the law or some precedent cases. And that's also what's recommended to be having to have a standards for the transparency. We need to have standards for the design of the transparency, how it's going to be designed, how it will help the users to read the decisions and understand it, and not just read it and apply it directly. And how can we also validate this transparency before applying it? So we need to think about standards a lot. We can't move forward without having these standards. We don't want to spend a long time working on deep learning or machine learning algorithms, and after like a months or years, it will be all illegal. And also the third principle that is also very important is the responsibility. When we do some kind of AI work, we want to ensure, or machine learning and algorithms, we want to make sure who is going to be accountable for these changes, for the decisions. Is he going to be the programmer who implement these algorithms? Or is it because of the algorithm, or is it because of the data? That also needs to be clarified. Or is it going to be the manufacturer of who used this data, or the user who directly applied the decision from this data? So we have to have answers for all of these questions before, or we have to work on finding answers. I'm not saying that we have to stop and find the answers first, but we have to work in parallel. And I'm so happy that there are a lot of work is done in this towards this kind of policies and regulations. That's the conference that I was talking about, Artificial Intelligence, Ethics and Society. And you can have a look, if you didn't have a look yet, about the IEEE ethically aligned design for artificial intelligence. And there's also the latest workshop. It was very interesting to read about the outcomes from this workshop of a global AI governance. And in the World Government Summit in in Dubai on February, which defined the roadmap for applying policies and regulations for the AI governance. Before I finish, I just want to say something, especially for women on this day, and that there are a lot of communities for women in AI to ensure to reduce the gap or to reduce the gender gap of women in the technology fields in general and in AI in special. There are very interesting podcasts, the Women Tech in Tech Show. If you haven't seen it, that would be very interesting to Google it and look at some of the previous videos. And also there is another community, Women in AI community. It's mainly they have a lot of activities for women in AI. But their goal is to bringing all the minds together. And also there is a specific one for machine learning. So we have women in machine learning, also to increase the impact of women in machine learning. And the last slide that I want to talk about is just to wrap up what I have already explained. I know that I talk a lot, so I just hope that you understand, or I'll just remind you for the 4 main lessons that I want everyone to remember by the end. First is what's the impact of applying AI in the legal domain? Is it going to disrupt only the legal profession or mostly all the business models? And next is about the features of data in the legal domain. And the third one is that we need to take another look of our data. We want to consider the fairness criterion. And the number 4, we want to work for standards, especially for transparency. That's the end of my talk. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that I have delivered new information for you. I will be happy to have your questions, but I'm not sure if I have time. I've just checked that it's already 9:30 here. Or you can just contact me by either by my email or by my Twitter account.
Latifa, you do have some questions in the chat if you want to have a look at them.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Okay.
Have a quick read and see if you want to answer any. Some will involve a longer discussion, but it looks like some people want to talk to you in more detail.
Okay, I'm so happy to know this. Okay, I just need to know where is the chat.
It's in the chat. Look at the top or the bottom.
Yes, I found it. Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
They're not yes no questions. You're not going to answer.
Okay. Law students in Arabic in the KSU emerged from the word university and school. That's very nice. Could we talk further about exploring finding high achieved? Okay, Saudi students for these free online law degrees for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Arabia School would like to create this online law school in Arabic. Oh, that's very interesting. I'm just heading to Stanford. Wow. I'll take a screenshot and have to contact this person.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send it also.
Yeah. I need to find to have a copy from the chat if
I will. Possible. Yeah. You'll get a copy. You can copy paste it now, but I'll send it. Yeah.
Okay, I will just read the other questions because that needs a lot of information. I know you have to search for law students. How much human in loop is needed to ensure types of errors propagate from analyses? What is the future role of lawyers? Okay. Okay, I need to clarify this point. I'm talking about AI that's augmented, augmented intelligence. So I'm looking for tools that works to assess lawyers, but not replacing lawyers. So in order to increase the productivity of lawyers, and I don't mean to replace lawyers, so they will continue to do their jobs. However, their jobs will be less stressed than now. Perhaps especially city women's studies for this law school. Okay, she's continuing and potentially working with IPM Watson as well. That's very interesting for Stanford. I'll find law students from Saudi Arabia, and I will see if we can target. I will contact her in person to see what can we. Oh, Scott. No, I'll contact him in person and see if I will find law students to. I think these are the main questions. This is mainly the one for law school in Arabic.
Great.
Okay. Any further questions? Oh, we have one new. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, if anybody else enjoyed the talk, you can thank Latifa. And thank you everybody. Any final remarks? Do you know what our next talk is going to be, Padma? Oh, somebody is hoping to see you.
Yeah,
I hope so. I hope so. Wow, in Montreal. Yeah, I will do my best. Just accept my paper. Okay.
Susan, I'm trying to get another speaker for us on 15th. If not, we do have speakers lined up for 22nd, March 22nd, March 29th, April 5th, and April 12th. So come back and listen to us.
Yeah, and our normal time is 10:30 a.m. US Eastern. This was a different time just for today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.